3D glasses like a bra.
Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, welcome to our show. We have gathered together from the cosmic reaches of the multiverse, two of the nerdiest geeks to be found. We proudly present the Professor and her geeky girlness herself, Ace. And now it's time. GeekyKOOL presents Professor and Ace.
Hey everybody, welcome to GeekyKOOL. It's Professor and Ace. I am the Professor. Down over in the corner, over there's Ace. We have a couple of... Girl. You are, but you are girl enough for all of us. So then, of course, we've got Shpoo here over next to me, and special guest Danny down below from the Skallywag, the show. So welcome, guys. Glad you're here with us. Episode 60. So we're so excited to be doing this. By the way, Shpoo, what you said right before the video played did get recorded. So you were wearing your glasses like a bra.
So I had the 3D glasses for the title card were like right here. So it's like I've got 3D glasses on like a bra.
All I know is like I put up the thing so nobody can see us, and I'm hitting the video, and I hear this right before it hits record. And I'm like, really? That'll be a fun intro.
See, what you guys don't know is I'm not the girliest one in this
Wow. All right. Well, today, guys, we wanted to go off the rails for GeekyKOOL, something that we haven't really talked about. And we're into all sorts of geeky stuff, but this is just not a topic we have had a one of our episodes on. We're going to talk about cryptids. We're going to talk about Bigfoot. We're going to talk about UFOs. We're going to talk about other things, unexplained things, anything that we want to come up with and talk about. So for however long we go, we'll talk about.
And the fact that we're talking cryptids is exactly why I said that I would come back on this week as long as this dude down here could come on too.
Now explain the why for people that don't know.
So a couple years ago on my channel, we had a show called, as she's wearing right down there, The Show. It was a Monday through Friday, Good Mythical Morning kind of show where we just kind of picked big topics for whatever we felt like talking about that week, and then we would just talk about whatever we're talking about. And for the month of like September and October one season, we
up to Halloween.
Yeah, there were 13 weeks leading up from the time we came up with the idea until Halloween. So we decided, okay, let's take that 13 weeks, and every Tuesday we're going to alternate. One week we talk about cryptids, one week we talk about urban legends, and we covered all 50 states.
They're really good. Like, I've watched all the episodes, so they're really fun. You two together are amazing, and I love it because you guys have such good chemistry and bounce off of each other so well.
True.
But,
you
guys were entertaining and educational.
There were times it kind of became very, what's the word I'm looking for? Monotonous, I guess, would be a good word for it, but just very going through the motions. But then we would kind of have our bi-weekly coming to Jesus meeting where we would be like, we got to remember to have fun with this.
Yeah.
And then so you would have times you'll see it like nice little peak and then slowly and then back up and then slowly
go down. Yeah.
I applaud you guys because Professor and I do this once a week.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine the time it took and the effort it took to do a 5-day a week. I know you guys didn't film them all on each day, but that's the idea that you guys did 5 shows a week.
Really, it was just a matter. It was very similar to this because we would just come up with 5 ideas. Typically 3 ideas technically, because every Monday we would do weird news, and we would just call it What You May Have Missed. And then every Wednesday was, shall we?
It was worst week. You want to?
Yeah.
Ready? You still know
what day it is? Say it with me now.
Worst Week Wednesday.
And for that, we would just show like fail videos and stuff like that. And I've already got the robotic voices thing, so I'll be right back.
All right. Yeah, he had a problem last week with when he was on his phone, it would also become a robot voice. That's all he would hear.
That's not good.
Yeah.
So he'll be back.
Because we're in the same house, sometimes the reverb, but I'm not sure. But yeah.
Let's try this again.
Oh look!
Oh, he's over there now.
He's down below.
We're backwards.
That's okay. You always looked better next to me anyway.
I'm just used to sitting on the other side of you.
That's so funny.
But no, the thing of it is that I go back and I watched on the show. I love watching the bloopers. Still to this day, I will laugh myself silly watching the bloopers.
The bloopers or the weekly trailers.
The trailers I had fun filming the trailers.
Yes.
Trailers like where the shower trailer and the bed trailer are hilarious. I'm like,
and there's a rumor that there was real life nudity in that shower.
We won't get into that. You'll have to talk to my lawyer about that.
All right.
Well, there was the episode where we talked about International Nude Day.
Right.
So
then there was the time we talked about all the weird things you can buy off of Amazon.
Oh God! Oh, that is probably the funniest one we've ever done. We were laughing to the point we had tears in our eyes on that one.
Yeah.
And then of course the infamous hot sauce challenge gone wrong.
Oh my!
Where we went in, so we were just gonna it was supposed to be this increasing scale of hotness, and all the way up to one that was like a ghost pepper type of thing was the hottest one we could get our hands on. Well, the second one that we did was supposed to be, it was only supposed to be like 1,000 Scoville, so nothing like Taco Bell fire sauce is supposed to be hotter than it.
Right.
And we were just putting it like on a cracker, and then we would eat the cracker. Well, so we're all sitting there, and we eat the first one. We're like, oh, it's kind of got kind of a fruity taste to it. Whatever. We get to the second one, we pop it in. We're like, okay.
And then the pain.
Okay, you see beads of sweat forming until all three of us that were there, it was me, him, and our buddy El Chapo, and we're like, I don't know what's happening here, but this is bad. This is bad. Yeah, it turns out it was pure capsaicin extract.
Over 1 million Scovilles.
The ghost pepper sauce, which was supposed to be the hottest, it's quite tasty, and we enjoyed it. We ate it for weeks to come.
Yeah.
The second one that we did, though.
Yeah, Professor. Yeah. Doing anything like
no,
that.
We're not. We've already seen the Ozpod girls do that. They copied you guys, so we'll let the young ones copy.
We copied somebody else, so it's okay.
They did it in a fun way, though. They did the hot sauce, and Amber, one of the Ozpod girls, can't do anything hot. Like, God bless her. She's like me, no spice. But they did it, and then they were asked questions, and they had to answer the questions right away.
Oh God, we could not have answered questions after that second one. Nope.
Yeah, and
no, we stopped filming.
Yeah,
and we came back probably about an hour later. Somewhere between like 3 minutes and an hour later, and we were all just miserable at that point. But
they went live. They were doing it live, and so they were doing the thing, and then the nerd informants were asking them questions on the live, and so they didn't have the opportunity to stop. So
poor Jim.
We should have known when the bottle itself was like encased in wax.
No screw top. It was just covered in.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Well,
I don't know what was worse though, that or the soda/candy challenges that we did.
The dill pickle balls. I'm here to tell you those were the cucumber soda.
Cucumber soda. We never got our hands on the ranch ranch soda.
I never could find the ranch.
Oh my God!
But the cucumber soda is the worst. One of the worst things I've ever tasted in my life.
That was.
I could see that. Yeah.
The cream corn one we did wasn't bad.
It wasn't terrible. It had like an unnatural feeling to it, but it tasted like carbonated cream corn. So
yeah,
and I'm not a fan of cream corn, so I'd be kind of out. Yeah,
that grosses me out so much. That just cream corn grosses me out. One,
yes,
but carbonated cream corn sounds like the most disgusting thing I've ever heard of.
You know what grosses me out though? Bigfoot.
Oh,
hell,
we're gonna trade.
Dee and I, we are the kings of going off on tangents. So
no, I was letting you do that on purpose. So, but that's a good segue.
Back in.
Yeah, no.
By the way, guys, if you want to see more of the show, down below afterwards, we're going to post links to the show so you can go check that out. Check out their 13 weeks. I've been told they have 13 on all of those. So you should be able to find those, check those out, and they will go in probably a lot more detail than what we are tonight on the different cryptids. Oh, yeah. But
there's some weird ones out there.
There are.
But I say I love that you two are doing this with us, and I'm a huge fan of you guys, and I love the show. And since I've been with Shpoo, I have literally watched almost every episode that you guys. That's what I used to do at work.
Once every few months or so, I'll go on a tangent where I just watch like all the specials that we release, like bloopers and the 4th of July special, and yeah.
Can I just real quick before we get going on anything else?
Yeah.
The one episode that still to this day, I don't understand how it went viral.
Oh,
but that's the sex robot one.
Sex robot.
Yeah.
It was
how do you not know how that goes viral? I mean, really.
Well, but oddly enough, okay, so it was something like the Samantha the Sex Robot's Bad Day or something like that. Short version of the story would be, and it was one of our news episodes.
Yeah.
There was some kind of like sex toy convention thing, and they had one of the real dolls. Like on display, and so many guys came up and were just fondling it and whatever that it was basically broken and they had to send it back.
She should have learned to slap him.
Yeah. For whatever reason, that episode, like, and it wasn't for like 3 or 4 months after we had posted that video, but just one day, the views just started climbing. And he messages me and he's like, have you seen the views on this one video? And we sat there and you could just watch it, just going up, 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 up. Oddly enough, there's actually a second video that has taken off now. And it's actually our Darwin Award episode.
Well, that's honestly.
I get at least, I still get comments on that one video probably once or twice a month at least. And that's been 2 or 3 years now.
Yeah. But I digress. Back to the ghosts, the ghouls, the unknown, the flying saucers, the little green men, the hairy apes.
All right.
The hairy apes is a fun one because everyone.
Harry and the Hendersons?
Bigfoot.
Do what?
Harry and the Hendersons?
Yes, I love Harry and the Hendersons. I own that. But because everyone knows a Bigfoot, when you say Bigfoot, that's the first thing that comes to their mind. That and Loch Ness. But I have had a personal experience with Bigfoot, so.
All right.
Well, maybe.
Well, maybe.
No, I said me too, and then I said, well, maybe.
Hey, Shpoo, don't be talking about me like that.
You're back to the shower scene again. Huh?
This guy, it's like he's wearing a sweater year round.
But so, has anybody else had a personal experience with seeing Bigfoot or dealing with a Bigfoot besides me?
I haven't.
I will say maybe.
All right. Well, I heard the maybe story too.
I will say maybe as well. I don't know if it was just pranks or if it was something more, but I'll say maybe.
So let's look at the maybes.
Okay. Well, D, go ahead.
Well, there was a time in my youth, if you look here at the gray, in my youth that I did Boy Scouts, and we were down floating the Finley River, and we'd set up camp for the night, and something large came through the camp and just trashed it. And yeah, it could have been one of the older scouts. Right. Sure, it could have just freaking the little young ones out. But
Harley Quinn, nice to meet you.
I'm just telling you that it was odd. It was just odd because things were knocked over and they were so far apart, but there weren't regular footprints.
Yeah.
So that's why I always say that's with an asterisk, say that's a maybe.
So were there any footprints at all? You said there weren't any regular footprints.
Not any like human-sized footprints. There were odd depressions. Nothing that I would say is your classic Patterson Gimli footprint. But
were they further apart than regular?
They were pretty good size. They were probably every bit of I'd say good strides about 5-7 feet.
Wow.
Yeah. That's I mean, totally possible. I mean, it could be just pranks, like you said, but it's really hard. I think most kids who are pranking other kids don't think about the stride. They just think about like big footprints, and trashing it. So, Shpoo, what about you?
Mine, this was probably totally dating myself here as well, but late 90s. I was delivering pizza, and part of the area that we covered was kind of like out in the country area. And if anybody who's familiar with like the Springfield, Missouri area, there is a park north of Springfield called Ritter Springs Park.
Yeah.
It's out by like Fantastic Caverns. Well, I was taking a delivery out in that general vicinity one night. It's probably about, 9-10 o'clock at night. And the area that I'm driving in, it's before you actually get to that park. So you're just there's really nothing much around. On this side of the hill, or on this side of the road, you had a ditch, then a barbed wire fence, and then just a big field that had like a hill right at the kind of the beginning of it. On this side, you just had like thick woods. And like I said, it's probably about 9-10 o'clock at night. I'm coming down through there doing about 40-45 miles an hour. And all of a sudden, something came barreling out of the woods. And all I can really say, that's why I say maybe, because I do know that the thing had to have been at least about 7 foot tall. And it either was covered in hair or covered in like some kind of like fringy material or something, because it was flowing from head to toe. But it came barreling out of the woods across the road. And I mentioned you've got the ditch, then a barbed wire fence, and then a hill. It came out of the woods, across the road, in one step was over the ditch and the fence, and was up that hill so fast that I couldn't really get a good look other than just this silhouette of a large something.
Right.
The only thing that I can think of that would even come close to describing what I saw is Bigfoot.
Right.
But I can't also I can't say, yes, that was definitely a Sasquatch.
Right.
So maybe.
I totally believe in Bigfoot because when I was a child, back in probably right around 1985, I lived on a creek right outside of Branson. It's called Bear Creek. So we were used to seeing black bears. That was not something that was abnormal for us. And where I lived, we had 2 driveways that went down in the hill and had a circle driveway, and our house was down in this valley. And we had several dogs. Probably at the time we had like 10 dogs. I had lived on a farm, so we had like 10 dogs. And we pulled down, we had a shorter hill on this side and a really steep hill on the other side. Like so much so it was almost straight up and down. We pulled down and we circle around, and as we come to the other drive, the really tall, steep one, we see something kind of in the shadows behind this big tree that had been struck by lightning. So it wasn't a full tree. We pull all the way around, and our dogs are dead silent. Like that's not something that happened because you get super excited that you're coming home.
Right.
There was my mom, my dad, my little sister, myself, and my grandmother, who was disabled, who were in the car. And we get out of the car. My sister and I first, we're kids. We get out of the car first. And the dogs are just on the porch and their hair is just standing straight up. And they're looking at where we saw the shadow. And we're not sure what it is. And then all of a sudden it stepped from behind the tree and looked at us, and it was on two legs. And our first thought is, oh God, it's a bear. But the dogs are still not barking.
Right.
And it was huge. Like, black bears are big, but they're not like.
Right.
Like, this looked like a grizzly, like the height of what you would think a grizzly bear looked like. And my mom was like, get in the house, it's a bear, get grandma in the house. So my sister and I got my grandmother in the house, and then we had a porch that was like enclosed but screened. And so we came out on the porch. My dad went and got the gun. My mom was standing there. The dogs still have not barked at all. My dad goes in and gets the gun. He cocks the gun, and then the dogs start barking. This thing, the hill, like I said, was like this. It decides that it is going to just stand there. And our one dog, Jojo, he was a chow. He comes up to it, and that's when we he was a giant chow. That's when we really saw the size of this thing. And Joe went up to it and barked, and you heard this snarl, and he just whimpered and ran back away. And we didn't find him for 2 days. He was hiding. And my dad shot the gun up in the air, and this thing ran up the hill on two legs. Now, anybody who knows anything about bears, they drop to all fours.
Right.
Yeah.
Run up the hill.
Right.
So, are you guys familiar with? I know Dee is. Are you guys familiar with what a Sasquatch supposedly sounds like?
Yes.
It's a very well. For those of you who do not, it's you would expect this massive roar from such a large creature, but it's actually a very high pitched, almost like a woman's scream. It could very easily be mistaken for a woman screaming off the distance. And I have heard when I was in junior high and stuff, or even high school for that matter, lived out in the country with my family, and out in that area where I had several friends, that it's not too far from where I had my sighting, but we would see something else around that area as well. But we heard those noises many times. But there are also, foxes make a similar sound. Mountain lions make a similar sound. So, there's a number of different explanations for it.
Right.
But
after this happened, we were raising rabbits at the time. I was raising rabbits, and something was unlatching the rabbit cages, which were 4.5 feet off the ground, was unlatching the rabbit cages and just tearing the rabbits apart, and we would find pieces of rabbits all over.
Wow.
So, and that happened for about 3 weeks after, and then it just stopped. We just, our rabbits were fine. And so my mom always teased, growing up, she was like, that was our Bigfoot encounter.
Right. Well, yeah.
Because, and she had, the property that I was raised on had been in my family for 200 plus years. So my grandfather was raised there. She was raised there. And she said she had encountered lots of bears. She's like, I have never encountered something like that. And my dad went out, and there was a huge, not the whole footprint, but where the heel went in, right as it was going up the hill, running up the hill, there was a very deep imprint of his ginormous heel. And my mom went and got plaster, and I don't know what happened to it, but we had a cast of this heel growing
That's awesome.
up. Yeah.
It's always a cool encounter. Yeah.
It is, other than it sounds like it probably was quite scary at the time. That's kind of a...
I remember you telling me about that one, when we first started dating, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that'd be rather terrifying.
we did not like to go out. Like we used to go, like wake up at like 6 o'clock in the morning and go down to the creek and just be at the creek, like as a kid, until at dusk my mom would honk the horn 3 times, and that meant your butt needed to get home because dinner was ready. For like a month and a half, myself, my sister, and my 2 cousins who lived up the road, none of us did that because we were just too freaked out by
Right.
Back in the days when curfew was when the street lights came on.
So it wasn't street lights, but
right.
I was hoping, because where I live, my cousins lived up the road from us, up on the hill, and then we lived in the valley, and their mom would call each other. We were on a party line. So my mom and my aunt would call each other on the party line and be like, okay, we need to honk the horn. And they would both honk at the same time. So that way we'd hear it no matter where we were, and we would have to go home. So that's how old I am. It's a party line.
No, I remember party lines, and I'm older than you. So, all right. So I don't have any personal experience. I'm always fascinated by it. I'll tell you the truth. I actually became fascinated with Bigfoot, aliens, all of that from the $6 Million Man. There's a the $6 Million
giant as big.
Right. Yes, exactly. That was the coolest thing as a kid. It got me interested, and in the 70s, there were a lot of reports of Bigfoot sightings. Sightings were really well reported, and UFO sightings were really well reported in the 70s. It kind of stopped, and you didn't hear much about it. It may be because people that would report it would get teased, and they would, you would hear all sorts of things if you tell somebody you have an experience like that. So, but now if you look at today, especially with YouTube, people are reporting their sightings a lot more. There's a ton of stuff out there.
The problem with today's sightings is like there are so many hoaxes and crap out there that like you could have, you could get an interview with Bigfoot and it still wouldn't, no one would believe it.
Right. No, that's true. Well,
I really think that this is going to solve a lot of problems, or not problems, but questions in the near future. Because as people get those cell phones into hands, you're really starting to get good, actually fairly good quality evidence.
You are.
Yeah. The videos don't look like they were filmed on a potato anymore. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. Or the shaky. Well, we make fun of the shaky cam all the time.
Listen,
however, people here's a word of advice though. If you happen to run across Bigfoot,
well, all I can say, if I run across Bigfoot, I don't know. My first thought is, how am I going to film this thing? It would be like, am I going to survive this? Does that thing see me, and is it aggressive right now?
Yeah.
If I had a cell phone back then, I would have so filmed that shit.
Oh yeah, all right.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
But again, party lines, landlines.
Right, exactly. Yeah, the shaky camera. I'd be shaking my camera too if I saw Bigfoot. I'd be like, holy crap, this thing's gonna eat me.
Really scary. I think the thing that scared us the most out of that wasn't that he was standing, because he was far enough away that we didn't feel like a physical threat, but it was the fact that the dogs were completely silent.
Right.
Like, I don't think people who, if you've never had dogs, or if you only have one dog, imagine having 10. I had 10 dogs, at least, sometimes up to 12. And I had like 4 chows who were super aggressive to anyone or anything that came onto our property. So when the chows are like on the porch, hair raised, not making a freaking sound, something's scary. You're like,
no.
Oh God.
Now, I do have a question for you.
Not to jump subjects, but there's one of the scariest videos that's on YouTube right now. It's a ghost video, and I know we're not talking ghosts tonight, but that's its own topic. But,
we could go on with the show's experience about that.
Oh yeah, yes we could. We'll talk about that today. But it's a woman at her house. Her dog is at the end of the hallway, and she's like yelling for him, like, come here, and he'll like start to come and stop, and you can see him like looking up over into the corner at something like up, and it just kept backing up, and it was scared to death. And this video goes on for a good 3 or 4 minutes, and it never comes to her. So yeah, anytime that dogs know what's up, that's
right.
adds that extra element to it.
It is. So AJ, I wanted to ask, because there's always the reports with Bigfoot that when people have an encounter, sometimes they have a very strong smell. Was that part of your experience also?
I don't remember like on the night there was like strong smell, but I will tell you that like the weeks following when the rabbits were missing and we would find like the parts and stuff, if you went out, you knew you were going to find a dead rabbit or two before you went out there, because it had this like urine musky, like strong gag reflex, like it would make you want to vomit right there and then smell. And then the closer you got to the rabbits, and I lived on a farm, I was used to like all kinds of smells, and this was not a farm smell. This was something that wasn't a farm smell, and
like the perfect combination of like rotting flesh meets like cat lady's house.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I would agree with that.
That's
strong, what I've read.
Musky,
yeah, it was like, and when I say musky, you know, like I've been around rabbits, I've been around muskrats, I've been around
You've been around me.
I've been around all kinds of animals that have odor. Okay, this was not anything like that, and it wasn't the smell of like a bear or anything. And these cages were 4.5 feet up on the ground because we didn't want like any animals getting to them.
Right.
And it was latched, not just like a latch, like we wired it.
Right.
So when we would go out to feed the rabbits, we had the little things that slid, so you feed them. You don't even open the cage because you'd have to twist the wire to open the cage. And these cages, the wire was twisted and open. And I don't know.
That takes thumbs. That takes thumbs.
The animal that we know that could possibly have done something similar would have been like a raccoon.
Right.
Because they're very, but.
And if you got a raccoon that big, you don't want to mess.
Oh yeah.
No, that's true.
I was going to say, I don't know of any raccoon that's tearing apart rabbits.
Like we would find parts of the rabbit, like the fur, like the rabbits were scared and they would get their fur caught on the cages. We would find parts of the rabbits and then scattered throughout, like from the rabbit cages. So where the big hill is, our rabbit cages were about 150 feet on this side of it. that raccoon could have done it.
He would have used explosives.
Genetically engineered. Remember.
What was it? Trash.
He's a trash panda.
Trash panda. That's what it is. Yes.
But we would find like the parts of rabbit ears that had been gnawed on, like all the way from that down to the creek. And the creek was, I don't know, 500 feet away. 500 to 600 feet away from the rabbit hutches. So, and like I said, we had like 40 rabbits at the beginning of that, 40 to 50. And by the end of it, we had 3 left.
Ooh.
Wow.
Yeah, I knocked out our rabbits. That was my like 4-H project, and it killed all my 4-H project.
Well, you could have had a 4-H project of what does the Bigfoot want to eat today? Rabbits on the menu.
Rabbits on the menu. But yeah, there was a smell. It was just not that night. That night, our biggest concern was getting my disabled grandmother in the house.
Right. Get her safe. Right.
Obviously so.
Yeah.
Well, but the funny thing is, something that big wants to get into your house.
Oh, it's going to get in.
The front door is not going to stop it.
Oh no! And we lived.
Some of the freakiest videos I've seen on YouTube have been the Bigfoot's looking into a 6 or 7 foot tall window, and you just see these giant eyes, and they're like 8 or 10 inches apart.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's that infamous 911 call with the guy that had the Bigfoot in his front yard.
Yeah,
I remember that.
Yeah.
Where he's just like, yeah, there's you can tell he's like, I don't want to say it. He's like, there's
I don't want to say it, but
guy or something in my yard, and he's just out there. Is it a person? I think it's a man, but oh my God, it's huge.
Yeah. But I think that, like Larry was saying, we had all these sightings of Bigfoot in the 70s. Boggy Creek was a really big,
right.
The Boggy Creek monster. Momo was really big.
Momo was big then, yeah.
And then it died down in like the 80s. But I think it's just because, like, I know my mom told us, she was like, unless you trust them, don't tell them the story.
Right.
Well, as cheesy as this may sound, there may actually be a logical explanation for why it died down in the 80s, and that is something we mentioned earlier, and that is Harry and the Hendersons.
Yeah.
I mean, movie comes out like that nowadays would actually spark a massive surge in sightings.
Right.
But then people may have been like, well, I saw this thing, but if I say it to anybody, they're just going to think
I'm crazy.
I saw that movie. Or
right.
It was a TV show for a while too. So
right.
Yeah.
That's true. No, that's true. I hadn't thought about that.
Hendersons tonight.
Afterwards, we know what AJ is going to do. So now,
have a watch party.
So what's going to spark this in me again? Because I was as a kid, I always is all into. Anytime we'd got in the woods, I'd be kind of looking for signs. My father thought I was crazy. He's like, "That's only an organ, and they're not real." Okay, Dad, great. And he was a hunter. He saw all sorts of stuff, but he definitely was not a believer. I consider myself not as a true heart believer because I don't have the experience, but as somebody who's open. I'm open to the idea that is there something out there we don't know? Sure.
There's a national Bigfoot gathering, and I'm trying to remember we talked about it in one of our episodes.
Something with the PFRO down in like Texas or Oklahoma.
I think it was Oklahoma because we came real close to planning a trip.
Real close to going down there.
That would have been an interesting trip.
Out of the things that we talked about and didn't do, that's probably the one that I was like most bummed about.
Yeah.
Right.
I think we had if I remember right, the only reason we didn't was because we pulled up the website and it had literally happened like the weekend before or something like that. Like
I think we had just missed it. Yeah.
Just missed it. Yeah.
Well, like
that sucks.
Maybe after the pandemic is
finally over.
It's never happening, so it's okay.
Well, I hope it is.
I would like the pandemic to be over.
I would love for it to be over. But once that's over and or at least semi, under control, and you guys can find that again, and you should go.
We should go too. We should all four go.
Absolutely. Well, look up the dates for it. I'm on my phone, or I'd look it up. But anybody got a phone there handy? Look it up.
Yeah.
So one of the things that kind of spurred this back for me is when I've thumbing through YouTube, came across a channel, and the channel is called Sasquatch Theory, and I caught it like on its very first episode. And this guy's from Missouri talking about how Missouri has all these reports of Sasquatch, but people don't take it seriously, and so he kind of talked a little bit of experience, and then he interviewed this guy from that lives just outside off the Current Creek River and outside the national forest there.
Yeah.
And so he started talking about this land he had, and when he first moved onto the land, something was killing deer, snapping their necks and piling them up. And then he'd go out, and there would be 5 or 6 piled there together. He's like, what is going on with their neck snapped? And he'd come back the next day, and they
guys I'm thinking of.
And I think this guy that you're talking about that is interviewed, he actually has a YouTube page now. I'm actually.
Oh, really?
I think I subscribed to him. Give me a second.
Okay. All right.
Is it the dude that's got he's got a kind of an eccentric guy barn in his backyard?
If that's the one I'm thinking about, Ozark Mountain.
We watched some of it.
Yeah.
So that's so creepy though. But here's the thing, and Shpoo and I have talked about this. if there's a Sasquatch, people like your dad was like, oh, it's going to be in Oregon because
right.
you know, and that's because there's the big vast forest in
right,
Oregon.
right.
But
well, the thing is,
the Mark Twain National Forest.
Right.
The thing is that there are Sasquatch is all over the U.S. and all over the world for that matter, but they're called so many different things.
Right, right.
For the area that they're in, that you kind of have to compile all those lists. But once you do, the Ozarks region specifically, so this area of Missouri is actually like top 3 maybe most populated amount of sightings.
You know,
it's
you
like
go down
Oregon,
to the forests.
It's like Oregon. There's a lot in Oklahoma for some reason, and then Arkansas, like northern Arkansas and southwest Missouri.
Yeah, the Ozarks.
Yeah, you pretty much follow the Mark Twain National Forest down through the Ozark Mountains in northern Arkansas, and that's where it's at. The big thing was Broken Arrow. I went to Broken Arrow with my wife's family for a family reunion. I'm telling you, the woods where we stayed in the cabin, I was looking for 2 things: either a serial killer to come out of the woods, or Bigfoot. It was thick and it was dark.
Yeah, and it's just like Larry was saying, you know, he's never had an experience, but he's got an open mind to it. The thing is we as humans discover new animal like
all the time.
All the time.
So, and people are like, well, we would have found Bigfoot if this is the case. One, if they are very hermit-like, or if they're very like secluded-like, and they like to live in the middle of just nowhere, like people.
Sound travels a long way in the woods.
Yes, it does.
Every little twig snap, and you look at a deer, for example. A deer can sit completely silent 100 yards away from you. It catches one little sight of you, one little twig snap from you, and it's gone before you ever knew it was there.
Yeah, if you breathe heavy or anything like that, it's going to hear it.
Yeah.
And so
to go back to what AJ was saying earlier, black bears aren't small.
No,
I've walked in the woods most of my life. I've seen a black bear once.
Right.
Same here. I walked right up on one.
And they're a big creature.
They are.
Yeah.
So it's not unrealistic to think that in the vastness of the Pacific Northwest, I mean, there's places that no human probably has to this day stepped foot on.
Right.
There could be a population out there.
Well, and same with Canada. Canada
has nothing but forest.
Right.
There is that show. The name of it escapes me now. I just remember the host's name was Josh something. Destination Truth.
Yeah, Josh Gates.
Yes. Yeah. They did one in the Pacific Northwest looking for Bigfoot. Had all their cameras and everything set up. There was, I guess, a lot of sightings in this area they were in or whatever. Something set off one of their alarm type things. So they go rushing out, and something was like barreling away from them. And they said whatever it was big, just from the sound that it made. But they never got a visual on it. I want to say they caught like glowing eyes in one of their cameras or something. That was it. But they found fresh droppings from whatever it was, and they took it to get it analyzed, and it came back as the DNA from it came back as unknown.
Well, and to keep going on that, they also did a investigation on Everest with Destination Truth, and they came back with an amazing cast of a footprint of something that was at least 700 pounds, if not more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what, like, my sighting, like I said, I literally lived on a creek that was called Bear Creek.
Right.
Not that we saw bears all the time, but growing up, I think I saw black bears at least 8 to 12 times. Like, lived there.
And she's driven me down by where she used to live at. It's one of those roads that like wraps around the base of one of the bigger like mountain type.
Yeah, so we had like a big mountain here, and we had another big mountain here, and then the
like mountain road, small valley, another mountain.
So this was not a bear, and my mom had lived there, like I said, her whole life, and she was like, "That's not a bear."
Right.
Like it was huge, and just the size of it compared to our full-grown male black chow. We had and he was a very large chow. It was like massive. Like he could have probably picked him up with one hand,
right,
and just tossed him if it wanted to. Like it was that big. So I don't know. It's crazy. And
well, and some people will say, well, it's just a guy dressed up in a costume, somebody out there drunk. I've lived in the middle of nowhere. When you're going out to get drunk, you don't think of, let me put on a Bigfoot suit. That's not usually what you're thinking.
There's one here recently. There was someone snapped a couple pictures off of Taneycomo of either someone in a suit or or the real thing.
Mm-hmm.
And like you say, okay, well, it's most likely just a guy in a suit, but it wasn't like in a populated area. It was two hikers.
See, I don't like the guy in the suit thing, because that's basically saying that they know where you're going to be before you know you're going to be.
Right.
And they're going to have
that you're going to be there, that you're going to have a camera.
Exactly.
And
this was in the middle of nowhere.
What are the odds?
And this was actually boaters, the one he's talking about. They were boaters, and anyone who knows what Table Rock Lake is, you have hundreds and hundreds of miles of shoreline.
Right.
Now, was it Table Rock or was it Taneycomo?
I think it was Table Rock.
It was Table Rock. Okay.
I think it was.
I couldn't remember which.
Yeah, and so you have hundreds and hundreds of miles. Like
Table Rock Lake is enormous.
It is.
It's if go Google a map of it, it is enormous, and there's all these points that people don't go to. It's not like populated points. And this was, I can't remember if it was 0.5 or 6 on the lake, but it's not. It's like forest is all it is, and just a little rocky going to the lake. No one swims there.
Nobody around for miles.
Yeah. So get there, it's a long hike. Like,
so either this was the real thing, or there was a guy sitting around in a monkey suit in the summertime heat.
Oh my God, now's my chance.
For hours, just waiting for the possibility that someone might happen by.
Or the people in the boat rowed all the way over to the shore, placed the guy, rowed all the way back to take the picture.
There's that
too. Whatever. Plausible. That's entirely plausible.
But even the post that it went up on Facebook, it didn't really get like a ton of traction. But it got your typical stuff, but not like enormous. But even they were just like, there's something over off the lake. They didn't come out and be like, oh my God, I saw Bigfoot. They were just like, don't know if this is the real thing or somebody in a suit, but this today.
They had said, I've never seen a bear like this. Has anybody ever seen a bear like this? It was walking upright. Bears do walk upright. They do sometimes. But bears have their front legs and their back legs when they're
stubby legs.
Their back legs are stubby.
They're proportionate. This thing, its arms or front legs would have been so much that it would have been like angled if it were so much shorter than the arms. It was like orangutan arms, and so that to me is just like, that's not a bear. I don't know if it's like a person in a costume, but I do not have the least bit of doubt that it's possible that it was Bigfoot.
Right. What do you have? If you have images from that on Facebook, post whatever we need to post those down below. Also,
they were in one of our groups, because I report for the Taney County and Stone County. I'm on all the groups. So
you should have interviewed that guy. Heck, I want to interview that guy. Let's bring him on.
I told her to look into it.
I would totally be down. That's an interview right there.
That is. Yeah. So.
Take him out to the spot. This is where you saw it. We'll try to recreate it.
Right. That would be fun.
How tall was it?
Go look for footprints there.
That is an interesting idea. If you could figure out the spot to get some kind of like ape suit or whatever, and go out there and take your own pictures and compare the two.
That would be a fun experiment.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing that I love about this guy is he's a lot like me, where we both like very much believers in a lot of things, and yet very skeptical at the same time.
Right.
It's one of those where we
As
look
you have
for
to
every
be.
other possibility, and if we can't find one, that's where we're like, okay. He mentioned earlier our jumping off tangent again here, but he mentioned like our personal experience, our ghost experience. We were doing an episode that was actually a ghost episode, which made this rather ironic. But we're doing the wrap up, and at the end of every episode, we would have what we called the Russian clip of the day. The short version of that is, if you've never seen videos from Russia, Russian people are weird and awesome, and we love them. So we were right at the end of it, and so we're like, so until next time, you know what time it is. It's time for your, and like right as we get ready to say that, you hear a noise off camera, and both of us go, and we're like, what was that? Well, we had ordered a pizza earlier in the night, and the pizza box was sitting on top of the trash can, and it had fallen between the trash can and the counter.
Right.
You're like, okay, no big deal. It just slid off. Until you take into account the fact that the trash can was pushed this far away from the counter, and there were like, we tried, like without it going straight up.
20 minutes trying to figure it out. Just with the box needs to go this way, that way, angle it this way.
We're talking a large pizza box falling into a space this big.
Yeah.
Somehow to slide in, not possible. It would have had to come straight up and down.
I want to do, and Shpoo and I've done this like a little bit, but I want to do a ghost like night with EPs and stuff at this house.
Oh God. Yeah,
you're down by the lake. It's just rife with all kinds of stuff.
So we have both seen
a few things
apparitions in the house. We both
on a regular.
Yes. We both have had two experiences. One when we were together, one he had by himself, and we don't get freaked out by stuff. Neither one of us really.
I don't get rattled.
Like if I think there's like a ghost or a spirit or something, like, not necessarily, if I get like a creepy feeling, I'll be like, this is my house, you leave, kind of thing. But one night
I just grab the camera or the recorder or whatever and like try to check it out. But I don't get spooked. I don't get rattled. I don't get uneasy.
Well, it sounds like who needs to go down there, don't you? I think we need to call in the hoax hunters.
Yeah. As soon as she said EVP a minute ago, I wanted to cut to the clip. But yeah, like she was saying twice now, like it made me uncomfortable.
We were playing
the night that I was up by myself, like I even got up and like turned the hallway light on just because it made me so uncomfortable.
Then the night that I was in bed when that happened, but the night that we were together, I think we were playing Yahtzee or something. And we were on the couch, and like I just saw something standing in the hallway, and it just gave me like the worst feeling. And at this exact
and the feeling, the reason it rattled me both times, I had my back to it, and I knew that it was behind me, and so I'm just like, no, I don't like not. I'm fine with it being there. I just want to be able to see it. You're not sneaking up on it.
We have a playful spirit or ghost or whatever it is, or
loves to play with my stuff. Yeah.
He whatever it is likes to move pops. Like they'll
there for a while. This one right here, this particular Pennywise pop, for whatever reason, for a good solid 6 to 8 months, this was the toy. Like we would seriously come home and find it like it's it's in here in the studio. We would come home and it would be like in Lex's bedroom, or in the living room, or just somewhere in the house. It was like find the Pennywise. It was like a little game.
And they like to turn our toys to face the back, or I have my my Sanderson sisters, and that's actually the ones that are back there in the studio. but I have the Sanderson sisters, and I have Winifred, and they weren't on the same shelf, but I don't even think they were in the same room. And all of a sudden, we came home. Okay, we came home, and that Pennywise was facing Winifred Sanderson, and I'm like, are they trying to match? It was like a little kid. It was like Lex would have played with the toys and like, oh, they're both redheads. Let's like play like their brother and sister or whatever. But Lex wasn't here. No one was home. We just showed up at home one day and they were just facing each other and all that. So it's
pretty wild.
Yeah, we like it. It's my house. It's all good. It's
like, as long as they don't knock stuff off and break it, I'm okay.
they have
done. Yeah.
No. Your house isn't over an Indian burial ground, is it?
No. No.
Just checking. Just want to make sure. Nothing you're aware. All right.
I'm not gonna lie, because my family's Irish travelers and Cherokee and Chippewa, so all of the land around here were at one point inhabited by Native Americans. So I don't know.
You're right. You're exactly right. So
it's a thing.
So should we switch gears and talk about the other topic?
Yeah, let's talk a little UFO, because I actually have an experience.
Same here.
Right.
And this one's like not even a possibility. This is a full-blown...
I've had a UFO.
I've not had a full-blown, so mine...
We've had UFO.
Yes.
I want to hear that, so let me tell mine, and then we'll get into the really good one. And how about you, AJ? What were you going to say?
I was just going to say that UFOs, just in case anybody's watching and think that we're all nuts, UFOs have now been confirmed by the Pentagon that exist, that they are crafts that, like aircrafts that
they've changed it from UFO to UAP, which means unidentified aerial phenomena.
Yep.
Phenomena.
And the Pentagon has issued statements that say they are not made of this earth. They are not made and manufactured on this earth. Which there's no other explanation.
You would think that would freak people out. And it's weird to me that it hasn't, because for how many years we can't acknowledge this from the US government because this will cause mass panic and the world will burn and blah, blah, blah. And guess what? People are like,
they played it very smart in that they have not come right out and said these are alien spacecraft.
Right.
They've just come out and said these are not any type of craft that we believe could be made on Earth, because they basically defy the laws of physics.
Yeah.
Right.
But they aren't even willing to come right out and say these are an actual craft.
Right.
That's why they changed it to aerial phenomenon. This is just a thing flying in the air.
But they also released the first images released by the Pentagon happened right at the start of the pandemic.
Right. That's true.
So they kind of got a little buried.
People were a lot more concerned about a virus that could kill you than flying UFOs.
Well, and I just got done rewatching the V miniseries. By the way, very good. I forgot how.
Now wait a minute. Are we talking about the one from like the late 80s, early 90s?
We're talking 1983, the original miniseries.
It holds up.
And then I've actually watched the second one, V the Final Battle, which is interesting because as a kid, I loved V the Final Battle so much more. But as I go back as an adult, I'm like, this is actually better. The original one's better. I mean, the Final Battle is great, but yeah. So I did a review on that.
Yeah, we watched them for when the pandemic first started. We watched them.
I got on some kick. Didn't we? We bought it on Amazon, I think.
I did the same thing. I bought it on Amazon. I got on some kick. Somebody had made some sort of comment about V the miniseries. I'm like, wonder how that was. I remember it being excellent, and I'm like, dude. The miniseries were such a big deal in the 80s, and so many really good miniseries. I'm like, it probably is not as good as I remember it. I'm like, it's all that. So
it really, I mean, it's a TV show from the 80s. So yes, the graphics aren't as good as the movies of today.
Right.
Today we're just not going to get into the bad CGI, but we're talking. I'm snarky as hell. Like,
well, you can have good CGI and still have a terrible movie. I mean.
Yeah.
There's several of those where you're like, boy, that spacecraft's really beautiful, but this movie just blows.
Yes.
Okay.
And but V really does hold up. Like,
it does.
It's not. We watched it and it was like, yeah, no, it was.
Because nowadays they rely on like, okay, so it's going to be an alien invasion thing, so we've got to focus on like the battles and the action and all of this stuff. Where back then it was yeah, there was an alien invasion, but it was about people. It was a character study.
Right. Well, and it wasn't even a full invasion. They did it the right way. They came in as, we're friends. We're here to help you. And we're just going to ask you to help us a little bit in exchange. And by the way, scientists are bad. They're trying to plot against us. And and it was such.
We pull our faces off, and then we're just lizards.
Right. Well, it was really. I love the imagery there with the Nazis and all the things that represent the Nazis with it, and
it was very political.
Very political.
And I think that's why it holds up still.
Yeah. And the one grandfather being, survived the Nazi camps and then all that. It was just fantastic. But I totally digress from where we're at.
You do that.
Yeah.
So I do not. You asked me if I've had an experience, and like I've seen lights in the sky, that sort of thing, but I can't determine what that was. And
right. Well, that is considered a UFO, or.
It's also, it could be all kinds of other things. So
it could be. Well, that's part of UFO was never meant necessarily to be aliens. It was just an unidentified flying something. Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing: like, if we put Shpoo up in an air balloon, does he count?
Only if he tilts his head down.
Well, it was an air balloon and swamp gas. That's what it was.
Gas. It reflected off the Venus.
Yeah. Well, it was some sort of gas. I don't know, reflecting off of something.
It's because weather balloons are totally made out of a metal that you can crumple like paper, and then it will completely spread back out with no wrinkle.
Well, of course they are.
Absolutely.
You know nothing. Oh.
So my experience was this. So mine, I didn't see an extra craft. I was working outside of Nixa at a group home. So I had a house full of between 7 and 12-year-olds, and we would have to have people stay up all night long and stay at this house and, go do bed checks every 15 minutes. And that was part of my job. Me and one of my buddies were working this job together. And my buddy Derek would be very happy I'm telling the story, because it was one of those things where after it happened, I'm like, let's not tell anybody, because, and of course, the first thing he does is tell everybody, like, Derek, you're killing me here. So about 4 o'clock in the morning, I hear this, Larry, get in here. I'm like, what? I come running into the kitchen where he's cooking, and we see this light move very quickly across by the window. I'm like, what was that? So we walk outside onto the little balcony thing, or the little the porch thing, and this light is glowing on the other side of the hill. There's this hill, and all it is this cattle farm out there. Nobody lives out there, but bright as the day out there. And it's just staying there. And we wanted to go check it out. One, I'm like, I want to go check it out, but I don't want to wake up tomorrow and be probed. I don't know. But, I'm just like, I'm serious. But I wanted to check it out also. But, we have this responsibility for these kids at this group home. So we can't leave the property, and we really need every 15 minutes to be doing bed checks, because some of these kids would get up and try to do things to each other. Because, unfortunately, some of these kids have been sexually assaulted and everything else when they were young. So we couldn't go do that. It wasn't, that light stayed there for an hour and a half. It just stayed there. And we couldn't see it hovering, but we knew it was right on the other side of the field. And there wasn't any houses. I'm like, unless this light went streaking across and somebody out there cow tipping with their headlights on or something. It's the only thing I could think that could explain it. But I'm like, what in the world? He's like, we saw a UFO. I'm like, well, it was unidentified. Yeah, it flew across. As far as we can tell, yeah, I guess that fits. Didn't see any aliens, but okay. Why would the aliens be hovering over this field? So we did check to see if there was any mutilation or there's no reports of cows missing. Now, if the farmer found stuff like that, they may also be going, I'm not saying a word because people will think I'm crazy. So, but I did check back to try to see, did anything ever come of that? Nothing ever did, but that was my experience. But it was freaky. Like the hair on my arms were standing up because I was kind of freaked, but I was excited because I'm like, well, I've always wanted to kind of see. Can we sneak over there, look over the top of the hill so they can't see us, and see if it's an alien craft? Because that would be so cool. And that was before cell phones and everything else, so we didn't have any cameras. Yeah. But I wanted so badly. Yeah.
So
if it was
cotton candy.
If it was the killer clowns, I think I would have turned and ran. So that was my experience. So again, it wasn't 100% that I saw an alien craft or something like that, but it was some sort of something flying, and then this light that stayed there for an hour. Right, it was gone while it was still dark. It just disappeared, like at 5:30. No, didn't see anything fly. We kept our eyes there. It just all suddenly, like the light, it stopped. What happened? And then I'm like, did we lose any time? Have we, did the aliens come into the house? Did we not remember it? Didn't lose any time, so nothing like that, but did kind of, those things went through my head.
I lost about an hour and 45 minutes once, but I don't know that had anything to do with aliens. But that's a totally different story. But
and we weren't drinking. We weren't smoking anything.
I wasn't either. I was sleeping. I woke up to a noise outside. So my alarm clock sat on a kind of a
headboard?
Little end table thing that was behind my head. So I sat up and I turned around and I looked at the clock and it was 3:15-ish or something like that. And I glanced out the window and then glanced back down at the clock and it was almost 5.
Wow.
But like I said, though, I had just woke up, so maybe I looked at it wrong. I don't know. But yeah. But my actual UFO story is it's extremely fast. But extremely, it blew my mind to this day. It still blows my mind. So this was, I don't know, I'm going to guess probably around 97-ish. Over the summertime, I used to hang out downtown in Springfield a lot. Mm-hmm. And I had met these 3 girls that had come up from Tennessee to visit their family. Well, it was 2 sisters and then a friend of theirs. And so, over the course of the week or so that they were in town, we got to be really good friends, and we hung out and stuff. And the night before they were supposed to head back, I actually went over to their grandmother's house, who they were staying with, just to we just sat out in the driveway and talked for 4 or 5 hours. Mm-hmm. And somewhere in the midst of this conversation, I just happened to glance up, and when I did, I saw this thing. It was kind of a V shape, but not quite a full triangle. It kind of, so if this is a triangle, it was slightly dipped in the back.
Right.
But this thing was the size of a football field.
Right.
Solid black, no lights, no nothing. And it came out from behind a cloud, went behind another cloud, no sound, completely silent. Went behind this cloud and never came out the other side.
Wow.
And only me and one of the girls that I was there talking to saw it. The other 2 did not. But we're just sitting there in the middle of the talking, and I just suddenly burst out with, "What was that?"
As one does.
Yeah.
Right.
But it was massive. Absolutely massive and completely silent.
Yeah. The complete silent is the thing.
Right.
Things make noise.
Yeah.
They do. So do you have an experience, do you?
I do. I was probably right before high school, I would say. Was out doing some late night fishing on a couple of my grandfather's ponds. He lived up by Bolivar, and sitting out there, just chilling, throwing some lines in, and this orangish disc, and that's the only way I can describe it, is an orangish disc. If you squish a fuzzy orange to the size of a flat object, and it just came over the hill, silent as a whisper. And when it finally got to the apex, probably 1,000. Well, at night it's hard to tell, but I would say every bit of a good 1,000, maybe 2,000 feet above a given area, it just stopped and it just hovered. No sound. The hair on my arms stood straight up. I got this weird tingly feeling in the back of my head, and it lasted for about 5 or so minutes, and then it was just gone as quick as it came.
I mean, I've got 2 or 3 of them, but that one was by far my best one.
It's so weird. Like, I love it when people are like, "Well, if there's UFOs, why don't they all look the same?" And I'm like, "Well, planes don't all look the same.
Ours don't look the same."
Yeah. We don't make things that look the same. So, and I always find it very disheartening when people are like, "Well, there can't be aliens in the universe," and it's very much like, you're such an egotistical human.
This is what I say to anyone who does not believe that alien life exists. Take a single grain of sand or a grain of salt or whatever. Take a needle and look at the pin, like the point of it. That point is everything that we know exists in, like, outside of our world, other galaxies, other universes, what have you. Everything else that exists is everything that we don't know exists yet.
Yeah.
How is it possible for space to be that vast?
And
we are the only sentient life out there? How arrogant are you?
Right. Yeah. It's an ego. It's the human ego does not want to admit that there could be smarter creatures out there. They just don't. And that's the thing. But that's such a backwards way to think about it. It's we are, smart on our Earth. It doesn't mean that there aren't smart things on other planets, or smart creatures,
right?
Smart whatever on other planets. And it's just always funny to me when people want to argue with me about that sort of thing. Like, I've never had an experience. I mean, I've seen, when I was 7 or 8, my cousin came, like he lived up the hill, and he would come down to the house all the time and just walk in the middle of the night. And he came down and he was scared to death because he said that he saw this bright light in the sky above him, and it followed him all the way from the middle of, they were 1.5 miles away. So like the middle of that, like 1.5 miles, all the way to my grandmother's house, which is where I live. And he said that it was just like slowly, like he's walking at first, and it was just right above him. And then we went out right after he got there because we wanted to see it, and we saw 2 lights just into the sky. That's like, but that's not my story. That's his story, That's the only.
Well, but you saw those lights, and things like that don't typically move like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And they flew off in like it. So there were 2 lights, and at first I thought, oh, it's an airplane or something. But they flew off, and they went like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like came back together and then went off. So I don't know what it was. But
see, if you want a good, you can pretty much see a UFO on any given night. If you can get far enough away from a city that you've got a really good view of the sky.
Yep.
Just look up and wait till you see one of those stars moving. Now, most likely that is a satellite.
Right.
You can see satellites plain as day. It just looks like a star that's just kind of moving in a straight line straight across the sky. However, you find one and you follow it, and it may just keep going on its little path. But then every once in a while, you'll see one that's just coming across there, and then all of a sudden it'll just stop, and then off in a different direction. There's
how many did we see that night when we went camping on that float trip?
13, if I remember
13 or
correctly.
14. They would just come across and stop, loop around, do something, and we're just like, wow.
Then at one point there were like 3 or 4 of them that we saw in different directions. That night was insane.
Yep.
Well, and the scene of crafts in the sky is not something that is new to us.
Oh no.
It is something that, and Shpoo and I, for a series of enigmatic events, we did a whole episode on, in the 1400s in Germany, they have broadsheets, which were basically the newspapers back then, where people would write the story and then draw illustrations because, you know, no cameras. But a whole town saw what they described as Star Wars, basically.
Yeah.
Right.
There was a few of these.
Yeah.
Throughout history.
Yeah.
One of them lasted for like almost a week.
That's the one that lasted for a week, was the one in Germany.
There's a big debate right now that the whole background of the Hindu philosophy and their gods are actually deities. That these deities weren't really gods at all. They were just aliens in these spacecraft that would come down
and visit
and do these crazy magical things. And remember, once science gets so far away from what we know, it becomes magic.
Well, if we went back to that time right now, just with the technology we have, they would swear we were gods, right?
Oh yeah.
You look at Egypt, you know, the pyramids, hieroglyphics, all of that.
I've got theories on Egypt.
There are, well, yes. there are drawings of spacecrafts. There are drawings of
full-on flying saucers with rivets and landing gear and everything.
And that's not even technology. Like, that's not something that was even on anyone's mind. That's not something that they thought. Flying is a late 1800s, early 1900s, like, let's do this, except for Leonardo da Vinci, who wanted to, you know, do that. But still, it was not like a metal craft.
No.
They thought they would do wings that with like wood and paper or wood and cloth and that sort of thing. This is not something that was even in their wheelhouse of thoughts. And so for them to draw it and it be so similar to things that people have seen and recorded in modern times, it's just the idea that it's not possible is not something that it's totally possible, because there's just too much history and there's too many eyewitnesses from all over the world, all different cultures, and things that cannot be explained. So
there's the famous story of if I'm remembering the names correctly, Barney and something. I want to say their last name was Hill. And sadly, I want to say Barney and Betty, and I know that's funny, but I think that's actually correct.
Barney and Betty's right.
But they, and I think the last name was Hill, but back in like the early 60s, they were driving home from somewhere, claimed to have had an encounter and claimed to have been abducted. And upon coming back, like, they both had like identical scarring found on them. There was a piece of her dress that was taken like from the scene and tested positive for like weird types of radiation. They both went under hypnosis at separate times and told identical stories, but not like too identical, if that makes sense, where it sounds reversed.
Things, but it wasn't scripted.
Yeah, that is one of the more compelling stories that's out there.
Right.
If you're not familiar with it, I'm almost positive it's Barney and Betty Hill.
There's Travis
Walton.
Guy. That story. I mean, like, not just him, but everyone.
You're talking about a group of 7 guys that all passed multiple polygraph tests.
Yeah.
Right.
And he went missing. Like, to the point that the police thought that his friends had killed him.
Gone for 5 days.
Yeah. And then he came back and he was not the same after he came back. Physically, mentally, he just wasn't the same. So,
yeah, I can say, as much as I love the movie Fire in the Sky, to hear Travis Walton speak, it is not a great representation of what he experienced on the ship.
Yeah.
In fact, he said that his time on the ship was actually quite pleasant, but that he's actually been campaigning for the last few years now to get a remake made that is more true to life.
Right.
But there's just buttloads of interviews and lectures with him all over the internet. It's Travis Walton in Snowflake, Arizona, 1977.
It was right after you and I would have been born.
Yeah, 70, somewhere between 75 and 80.
Yeah.
I want to say 76 or 77.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
So, do you guys have a theory of why people see them more, or they're more prevalent in certain areas than others?
I mean, areas, of course, is always going to play a factor. As far as why certain people see this stuff and others do not, is a large portion of it anyway. I mean, some of it's just coincidence, but some of it is it's my explanation for why people don't see UFOs versus others do is the same for why certain people see ghosts and others do not, which is, you talk to a child and like children will tell you that they see stuff all the time.
Yeah.
Maybe their imaginary friends aren't so imaginary, but then we spend their entire childhood teaching them that type of stuff is real.
Right.
So their minds become closed. And so I believe that there's plenty more people out there who do see that stuff. They just rationalize it away as something else, or their mind is just simply closed off to seeing it in the first place.
Yeah. Do you find, like, because I know in the 50s and the 60s, Area 51, Arizona, New Mexico, the deserts. Do you have a theory of like why they saw more of them in those areas than others?
I think more of it would be simply because they expected to see them more. And let's just cut to the chase here. Back in the late 50s, early 60s, post World War II, we did a lot of skunk works. I mean, you had the U-2 came out, the SR-71, and eventually the B-2 bomber. No one had ever seen planes like this.
Right.
So of course you're out in the middle of the desert where there's nobody around. There's no cities. There's no nothing. You basically could go as fast and as high as you want.
Right.
So you get one guy out in the desert with a pair of binoculars that may not be the best in the world. Oh, what do I see? And I think that's just the expectation. And then you put that on top of, well, Roswell's out there.
Right.
Well, the military base in Area 51's out there. And now we got, this and that. And it is just the expectation that you're supposed to see stuff out there. But you can see there's been plenty of reports of UFOs off of the coast of Tampa and Miami. There's been reports in Chicago. There's been reports, you can literally point a place in the map and you're going to have a UFO report.
Yeah. I also think that what you guys were talking about, if you can go out into the country away from cities, that you see more in
right.
And these are rural desert towns, or in the area of desert town, that you're not going to have like that ambient light from your cities because
right. And I mean, just the fact that it is so remote out there, obviously if they've got the technology to fly from their planet, wherever it may be, to here, or, possibly not even planet to planet, but possibly, some theories say dimension to dimension.
Right.
Then obviously their technology is good enough to see we have stuff that could potentially be a threat, especially in large enough numbers. So let's keep a relatively low profile. That's why you tend to have more sightings out in the sticks than you do. I mean, you've got stuff like, the Phoenix lights and whatever. But beyond that, you don't really have a lot of stories of like large scale sightings over large population centers.
Right.
Now, I know the last few years there's been, cell phone footage from different cities where people have seen lights and stuff like that. What do you guys think of that?
The last few years, I'm probably gonna disagree with Shpoo, but I'm gonna point you to the Olympics and what they did with the drones. I think the last 5 years, the technology with the drones has come so far that you can literally have a group of friends and a keg of beer, and you can cause havoc amongst the population center with just some LED lights.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, if you go back to say pre-2000s, I would tend to say that there would be more reliable, albeit more grainy footage.
Yeah.
And then now you get to throw on, I can take a cell phone video. I can put it on my computer, and for less than $100, I can make a pretty good facsimile of something out there.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what we run into. That's what we're running into as far as this whole community of, it be it cryptids, ufology, ghosts, is you've got, for every one legitimate video you have out there, there are 1,000 hoaxes.
Right.
That's being generous.
And that, I agree with Shpoo. That's being very generous.
And
there are a lot of videos that we would look for some of our ghost episodes that we're like, it's obviously
nope.
Yeah.
Nope. That's why we went into the whole, and it was not just ghosts, but ghosts, cryptids, UFOs, whatever, where it is you look for any other possibility.
Right.
Does it look like it could potentially be CG? Could it potentially be a drone? Could it potentially be this, that, whatever?
Right.
And if we cannot definitively say that it cannot be any of those things, then and only then are we like, okay, this is a good UFO video.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it hurts the study, like the actual study of these things, when all these people put in hoax stuff up. It's just like it makes a mockery of what potentially could be.
Well, the fact that nobody wants to even make it a legitimate study makes it a mockery.
Right. Right.
But then again, you go back to the 1800s, nobody thought gorillas were real.
No. Like, can you imagine the first person outside of Africa, like the first person who visited Africa who saw a giraffe? Like, how freaked out would you be seeing a giraffe? Like, you're looking, and it's one of those things that just because you haven't seen it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist.
Right.
I mean, we've only known about dinosaurs for a little over 100 years.
Right. Yeah.
Up until then, they were dragons.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean,
May still be.
So the fact that this whole Pentagon thing is happening now, where they are supposed to every 6 months, we're supposed to get updated on their new findings.
Right.
So one of two things is going to happen, and that is where suddenly it's all just going to get swept back under the rug.
Right.
And there's going to be a lot of hush-hush secrecy going on. Or watch the skies over the next couple of years, people, because things are about to get very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Shpoo hopes. He hopes.
Don't be like the kid in V that's like, oh, wow. Now I'm going to join
I'm
the
the guy
visitors.
that wants the zombie apocalypse to happen, and not because I want to go out and shoot zombies, just because I think we deserve it, and it would make life more exciting.
Well, we already know how that's going to end. Everyone's going to be like, don't take away my rights.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, no matter what.
Zombie rights.
Zombie rights.
Zombie lives matter. Zombie unlives matter.
Some people will.
Zombie lives
He's going to jump all over that. If they're zombies, PETA's going to be like, we have to save the zombies.
Yeah.
Well, other than they're eating meats. So they probably aren't on the good list there. If they were plant zombies, then maybe.
No,
Zombies have rights. Zombies are people too.
they will protect animals who eat meat.
They might eat the animals.
No, PETA protects animals.
Oh well, that's true. You're right. Yeah, but not the humans or dead humans. I mean,
just not
so,
humans.
right, right. So
everybody, I don't hate PETA. It was a joke. Okay, so I don't know.
You can address your hate mail too.
People Eating Tasty Animals is a great organization. I don't know what you're talking about.
Especially if you grill them.
Oh, yes, exactly. A nice medium or medium rare, right? That's what we're looking for there.
I'm just trying to think of like a good people's organization that could be replaced with zombie. And only thing I can come up with is like the ZAACP or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I don't think that works very well. So I don't know.
That doesn't work so well. Yeah. Well, the thing for me when I see videos is this person coming out and talking about it because they seem to want some sort of publicity? Do they want recognition? Do they want some? Or is this person reluctantly talking about this because they feel like they need to talk about it? And it's probably been a while.
You come across the occasional gem of a YouTube page where it'll be a page that is dedicated to like, I don't know, like it would be like me talking about nerdy stuff all the time, or us here talking about nerdy stuff all the time, and then just on one random episode, one out of dozens or maybe even sometimes hundreds of videos where it's just like, so I had this experience and I need to share it. This happened last night. Check out this footage. Don't know what this is. Leave your comments below, and then the next week they're right back to the regularly scheduled program.
Well, that's kind of what tonight's episode is, though, isn't it?
Well,
60 episodes in, and we're talking about our weird experience.
Well, I keep watching your door, Professor. I keep hoping it's going to open.
Don't tempt him. He's in a new house. He doesn't know this.
Big bulbous gray head pokes in.
But no, Shpoo's right. Shpoo's absolutely right. When you watch these things, you look for those needles in a haystack where
right.
It's I've got 20 videos of kids, I've got birthday parties, I've got reunions, and then there's the one video, and it's just you stop and you watch it and you watch it again. And you're like, that's something.
Also, you've got to take into account the other, like you said, birthday parties, kids, the other content, because as we know, anybody who's a parent, like Lexus, if you ask Lex what she wants to do when she grows up, she wants to be YouTube famous.
Right.
If you go to a channel that is just they're doing anything and everything to gain YouTube followers and subscribers and stuff, then I don't know if I believe them as much. You know what I mean?
No, right. You're exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah, it has to be the true gems are the ones that are just like I said, you've got dozens or potentially even hundreds of videos about whatever topic. Like it's this is my crafting channel or whatever. And then one day this one random video pops up. It's just like, so something really weird just happened. I don't know what it was, but take a look at this. I just got to share it. So they post it. They're like, I'm not saying it's a UFO or whatever, but there was this weird light outside or what have you. And they just kind of leave it up there. It's like, what do you guys think? I don't know. Like I said, just had to share this. Don't mind me. And then the next day, it's right back to the crafting channel again, and they never mention it again.
Nothing.
They don't try to hype it. They don't try to blow it up and be like, did you guys remember that video I posted last week? Yeah, they never bring it up again. It's just one random video out of a menagerie of others that have nothing to do with it.
People go and look for is those types of videos if they're really interested in, like, is there video proof of these things, or what can I look for? Don't go to the like YouTube channels that are all about trying to get followers, and you guys know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Like anything and everything to get subscribers, and and they don't care about, any like good content. It's literally just like, let's throw everything at the wall and see what sticks.
Mm-hmm.
Don't go to those. Go to the ones like Shpoo was saying, like the ones that are just random. Oh my gosh, this happened, or when I like the ones where it's like when I was a kid, this happened, but then they go right back to doing what they normally do,
right?
And not necessarily.
Especially if they're smaller channels too. They only have like a few thousand subscribers, that type of thing. There are a few pretty good YouTubers out there also that cover like the real, the better side of these videos. Shrouded Hand, well, that's probably a bad example, but like Shrouded Hand, Nexpo, which is Nightmare Expo, he's probably one of my favorites. They don't necessarily cover like UFO videos and stuff like that, but they kind of go into like more disturbing things from around the internet, and that type of thing pops up from time to time. But they will at least tell you about these channels where strange things popped up on this channel, and it's not somebody that normally talks about this kind of thing.
Right.
I'm trying to think of some other good examples. Just not chills.
No. Oh God, no.
15.
If you want to see how I look, go over to my Instagram. Sir Spooks is great as far as the obscure ghost videos. Occasionally you get a good one on Slapped Ham or Nuke's Top 5, but
I like Nuke's Top 5 used to be really good.
Yeah.
Like really good. And what I like about Nuke's Top 5 is he still is like, is this real or is it a hoax? You decide.
The viewer.
Right. But now, like nowadays, 90% of the stuff that he posts is just crap.
I'll tell you the stuff to look at if you want to look at for the paranormal or for UFOs. These urban explorer channels, get really good now. Where they're going in these creepy environments, these old abandoned houses.
Who's the guy that does the mines?
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
We had it in one of our look up. It's
he was a mine explorer or something or other out in Nevada.
One of our last episodes that we did closer to the end of the show. I want to say it's called like Hanging Out with the Dead or Playing with the Dead or something like that. Those are our ghost videos, and we only did a couple of them throughout the course of the show. That's where we had the pizza box incident. But in that video, we did this one. This dude that hangs out in mines and stuff. That is one of the creepier videos I've ever seen in my life.
Franco TV has done really good with some of his urban explorers of late, going out to different, not necessarily famous haunts, just out of the way little haunts, and he catches some decent stuff. He was exploring a cemetery down in Florida and caught some incredible ghost footage that he put on the internet, and no one caught it for months.
Who is that one?
It's a channel called Franco TV.
Franco TV.
Yep. But there's those little hidden gems everywhere in every community, whether it be the Bigfoot community, the UFO community, the lake monster community, what have you. These little channels that they may only have 10 or 15 subscribers, but they're producing some good quality evidence.
Right.
Dark 5 is another good one.
Dark 5's not bad. Paranormies is good right now. I watch a lot of their stuff. They have a lot of good topics. Not that I just want to keep throwing out other names other than
No, you're
cover these things. So the more names we can throw out.
Well, and maybe we start, but I don't know wherever we're going to go. So, have you guys ever heard of the Ghost Light? By the way,
down in Joplin?
Yeah,
the Spook Light.
The Spook Light. That's what it was. The Spook Light. Have you guys ever seen it?
Not in person.
Yeah, no, not in person. I've seen videos of it.
I've been out there a couple times at the right place with some guys trying to look for it. We never saw it, but that's an interesting thing. It sounds a lot like the lights, the orbs that people sometimes associate with the Sasquatch.
Yeah. My sister has seen it firsthand, and she is not a believer in ghosts.
No.
Well,
Right.
I don't know. She's extremely fascinated by it, and she's always trying. She's one of those that's like always trying to see it, but can't come out and say that she wholeheartedly believes in it.
Sure. Right.
But she has seen it. That is just one of those. I think that's just one of those things. It's some weird, completely natural phenomenon. We just don't know what
it is. Right. Right.
I don't think it's paranormal.
Yeah, so my dad was born in Reed Springs, and he grew up there until he was in 4th grade, and then they moved to Joplin. And he told stories. He saw it twice when they lived in Joplin. And my mom was the believer in things. My dad really wasn't. He was just like, I saw something, it was something. And,
right.
But he said that the second time he saw it, the first time he saw it, it was just really quick and didn't really pay attention. The second time he saw it, he said it was like really slow moving, and they tried to follow it, and it lasted for a really long time. And he's like, everyone who was with him and himself, I think at the time he was probably 13, 14, was freaked out, like really bad. And these are, teenage boys who are like, I'm fearless and that sort of thing.
Right.
Everyone's fearless until it happens.
Right. That's true.
And, so I haven't seen it. To be honest with you, the only time I've ever been to Joplin is either driving through or when the tornado hit. I went and volunteered, and that's the only times I've ever been to Joplin.
I was there the day before it happened and was supposed to go back the day that it did happen.
So speaking of the tornado, now there's some
the one I told you about?
Yeah.
That one, I don't know how this would have made an awesome episode of the show. And if we do start doing this whole StreamYard thing, StreamYard, this would be a good one to come back with. But I did not hear of this until about a month ago, I will never know. But apparently it was all with children during the May 10th or May 11th tornado 2010, or no, May 10th 2011. Anyway, during that there was a whole group of children that had nothing to do with each other that all saw the same thing, which has now been dubbed the butterfly people of Joplin, where they saw people with butterfly wings saving people from the tornado,
protecting them. And
wow.
Yeah, there's a story of like a dad and their 2 kids or whatever, that like there was a car that was thrown or something like that and was coming straight at them, and like so they all kind of braced for impact and nothing happened. When they looked down, like the dad just thought that the car just somehow was coming right at them and somehow just landed just in front of them at the last second. But the 2 kids both claimed that they saw 2 people with butterfly wings catch the car in midair and put it down on the ground. And there was
interesting investigation.
Yeah.
There's a little boy who was found miles away from his home, and
like 6 miles away from his home.
I remember that kid.
Yeah, and he said that he's one of the kids who said that he saw butterfly people that day too.
Yeah, that one actually just carried him there and put him down.
So
in the middle of a field.
It's I always have a hard time not believing children, but at the same time, children's imaginations go crazy with them. But considering these are children who didn't talk to each other,
right,
told people like that they were talking to the same kind of story and described the same things. So much.
When you've got about 20 children, all from the same event that had no connection to each other, or a handful of them did, where it would be like siblings or whatever. But so you've got at least, we'll say half that, so 10 groups of children that had no connection whatsoever other than they were in the Joplin tornado, that all saw and described the same thing.
The same thing. And now there's even, didn't you say there was a mural up in Joplin? They've done a mural or something for the butterfly people, because it's a thing now in Joplin.
That's interesting.
That's very interesting.
Like a couple of the children just described angels, but still people with wings. Right. They just described them as angels, but several of them specifically said butterfly people.
Like
with those kind of reports, consistency amongst people that don't talk to each other is always a key factor to when you look at investigating things like that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So I thought it was interesting, and Shpoo's been wanting to do some kind of video on it, and I think it's just right up your guys' alley.
That's pretty awesome.
You can go to Joplin.
We'll talk.
Yeah.
Road trip.
Your people call my people.
His people is me.
Well, I'm my people anyway.
We don't have other people, right?
By my people, he's just referring to the voices in my head. It's
there's many of that. You got to know who you're talking to.
I know him quite well.
But not as loud as they used to be.
I've quieted them. But no, I thought it was very interesting, and I always think it's unique when you have things like that, when you have like all these different people saying the same thing,
right?
Similar to the same thing, and it's not just one person. I think it adds validation to stories when you have many people saying it, and that's really what any of these stories and any of these like ideas of cryptids and or UFOs and stuff, it's all about trying to find those people that you feel are more credible.
Right.
And that's where we're going to find our answers, not from just everybody saying whatever. It's finding credible sources or things that you find credible and trying to, work through those. So.
Well, plus, I mean, if you're just talking cryptids in general, there are so many different cryptids around the world. I mean, you could turn this show into a cryptid show and not talk about the same cryptid twice for at least a couple of years.
Yeah.
Right.
Easily.
I mean, Africa alone has as many cryptids as there are different languages.
Yeah.
China and Japan.
Yeah.
I mean,
and around the Brazil, around Brazil and the Amazon
around the rainforest,
the rainforest, they have so many different things, and every state has some, like you guys did. Every state,
except for Delaware, or no, was it Delaware or
Delaware?
There was one that just didn't have anything.
Nothing.
Delaware's pretty small, so.
But even Rhode Island had like
Rhode Island had like 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah. Delaware
nothing. Actually, Delaware, and what's messed up is we couldn't find anything in Delaware. We finally come across one, and we start reporting it, and I'm like, this story sounds so familiar. And like even the pictures we have for it seems so familiar. Oh God, hang on a second. Pull up a random episode. I'm like, yep, we're talking about the Jersey Devil. Same pictures, same everything.
Same everything.
Do you guys find do you find it more credible when you do have like a cryptid that, like Bigfoot, that is seen in different places, like very similar creature seen in different places and stuff, like Loch Ness Monster? There's all kinds of those type of lake monsters and stuff like that.
Those are the two most common, is your Bigfoots and your lake monsters. I think that it definitely gives, at least, I can't say that it necessarily makes it more credible, because I mean, anybody can make up a story regardless of where they're at. But if you have multiple sightings from multiple areas, I think that maybe does, especially if you have at least some decent evidence from those multiple areas.
Right.
I think that's what makes Bigfoot so easy to believe, just because there are so many accounts from so many places.
Yeah.
I think as long as you're getting the similar, the same type of, vague, just not vague descriptions. Vague description is the wrong word, but similar descriptions as far as color, height, weight, sound, environment, whether, Bigfoot's the best example because you have Pacific Northwest, you have the skunk ape, you have Momo, Boggy Creek, you've got the Yeti in Tibet, you've got the Urine in China, you've got the Yowie in Australia. You've got so many similar descriptions that it's just hard not to believe. It becomes more plausible. And the same with the lake monster type cryptids is they're always deep bodies of water. They're always fairly remote. They're not. They weren't really known for anything until this one thing.
Right.
So I got a fun way to kind of bring this in.
All right, bring it in.
Larry, favorite cryptid?
Probably Bigfoot, just because that's the one I've always been fascinated with since the $6 Million Man, which was before any of you were born, by the way.
I remember the $6 million Man.
Yeah, you saw it in reruns if you're born in 77. That ran from like 72 to 76 or something.
The cheesy sound effect, and they slowed it down.
Yeah, I love. So I was born in 70. So when it came on, I was really at an age where I'm like, ooh, it was my favorite show. I had the little action figure doll with the eye you would look through. I had it all.
There was another TV show with Sasquatch and Lost Boy.
Oh.
Yes. Yes.
Like from the 60s or 60s or 70s.
Yeah.
See,
I remember that the Greatest American Hero did a Loch Ness episode.
They did.
Yes.
Yeah. God, we are such just useless knowledge.
Okay, you're on the right channel.
AJ, favorite cryptid?
My favorite cryptid is the black dogs.
Yeah.
Earlier, I love the black dogs of England and Ireland. They are known for that. They're known around the world, but really on that island. And there's so many stories dating back all the way to the 1200s that you can find them. Sometimes they're bringers of death and doom, and then other times people think of them as protectors. But there's still like a church in England that's from the 1400s that has claw marks on the floor where a black dog appeared. And this is before there was viral stuff, and you were considered crazy if you saw stuff like this, and you could get burned at the stake if you saw stuff like this. So it makes it, to me, the danger of lying about seeing these things, especially in a church, make them more reliable for me. And but I just find that they are I love it when they're so centralized and they become part of the culture and stuff like that. So I love the black dogs.
I can't do one. Top five cryptids.
There you're talking. Yeah,
you got Loch Ness Monster.
I've got two. So
Loch Ness Monster number 1. You got Bigfoot number 2. Makali Mbembe from Africa number 3. Yeah. You've got the Ropin from Indonesia as number 4. And then you've got to go with Ogopogo, number 5 up in Canada.
I just love saying Ogopogo.
Ogopogo.
Sounds like an 80s band there. Ogopogo.
Or a song. Duran Duran sings Ogopogo.
It just makes me think of Mojo Jojo.
Oh, there you go.
All right,
for me, it's either Mothman.
Yeah, Mothman's good.
Because of how he always shows up before some big disaster, and he's been showing up in Chicago a lot lately, which is out of character for him, but still. Or the Wendigo.
Yeah.
Love the stories of the Wendigo.
Wendigo is a good one. We didn't even touch on Skinwalker Ranch.
No, we have not.
That's its own episode.
That's got to be its own episode.
So I'll tell you what. We will invite you guys back.
Yeah.
Talk about more cryptids.
We'll do that. Well, we got through the basics. Let's get down to some of the more fun. The Dog Man. Let's talk about
Dog Man of Michigan.
Yes.
Yeah,
Have you seen that one video of the dog man attack? I think it's been debunked, but it's still a creepy video.
The one where he runs up on the camera. It's been debunked, but
it's still a creepy video, though. Yeah, it's a guy in a ghillie suit or something like that.
Well, we will definitely have you guys back. You guys are both welcome, as always, to come on anytime you want.
Anytime.
We do this usually on Tuesday nights. Sometimes we have to switch it up to Thursday nights because, my job is very erratic. But you guys are welcome. Just hit us up if you want to come on, or, well, Shpoo, you just have to say, hey, can I come on tonight?
I'm a message away.
There we go.
You're always welcome, Dave. Always welcome. So
we love
if you see something you want to talk about, you just tell us. Like, hey, can I come on? Keith does this all the time. This is a normal. I was surprised Keith didn't do tonight. And Keith, if you're listening, buddy, we love you. So you come on anytime.
Have we had any comments tonight?
We have not had any comments tonight. We've had a lot of people watching on and off.
Hey,
but there have been 0 comments. So we've had several people pop in, watch for a while, and we've gone almost 2 hours. So, yeah.
So let us know, what is your favorite cryptid? Just let us know down in the comments below.
Down below.
I love his radio voice. It's hilarious. Okay, guys. Well, we're going to wrap this up. We're going on 2 hours, but we're going to always end all of our videos exactly the same way, which is throwing out all kinds of love to our fellow nerds and geeks and what they do. So,
we do that?
We do that.
Okay, all right.
Gotta know that. I kicked my table. But we're gonna start off with our newest friends. Just they're the newest, not that we haven't known them that long, but this is new for them. They're just starting. And that is the Hotspot Gals, who are live, or they do sometimes pre-record Thursday night, 6 p.m. on their Facebook page. Go check them out. They are 2 of the funniest, most nerdy girls I know, and they're so amazing. So be sure to check them out.
I really want them to start pre-recording in front of a studio audience. That's what I want. This has been pre-recorded in front of a studio audience.
Lockdown Girls was filmed in front of a live studio audience.
They would be amazing at that. But go check them out and show them some love. Now, everything that I'm gonna talk about here, I just want you to know, when you go to the Facebook page, hit that like button. You go to the YouTube channel, hit subscribe, like, comment, share, all of those things. That's how we know that you guys are watching and like what we're doing. And that helps us out a lot. So
every subscribe, every like puts them a little bit further up into the algorithm and lets more people see them.
Right.
So you are helping them out and helping yourselves out by doing that.
And if you like it, that's a great way to be able to share it, because then you get them seen by other people. Yeah.
Share that button. Hit that share button all across the platforms. The Facebooks, the Twitters, the Instagrams. Heck, even do the TikToks if you want.
MySpace, whatever.
Mom, you're my only real friend.
We mentioned Keith. Now, Keith has 2 shows. He has one that he does with Gary over at Pop Culture Minefield. Be sure to go check them out. If you like what we do, they do something very similar, except they get way, way more like intense scoops than we do, because Gary and Keith know everybody.
They do.
And just for the parents out there, they're not quite as kid-friendly as we are. There are words that get dropped on that show.
You didn't tell me it was PG.
But we try to keep ours kid-friendly, at least, preteen friendly and stuff like that. But they don't. So if you're going to watch them and you have small kids, maybe put the headphones on. I'm just saying, but still go watch them. Keith
That's why I go out into the street and scream F-bombs for about 20 minutes after we're done shooting these.
It's so hard for me to not throw those things out there.
You guys do a great job. When we have Keith on, he's great also, but when we have Gary on, we know it's going to be viewer discretion is advised.
Yes.
This is more for true audiences only.
Yes. Speaking of Keith, he has his own show called Keith Chimes In. That's over on YouTube on the
third one. Look at that. Right there. Third.
Yep. Check it out Mondays at 3 p.m. on YouTube. And he is still talking about Babylon 5?
He is still talking about Babylon 5, which is an awesome show. So if you aren't familiar with Babylon 5, check out Keith chimes in, because you will learn about it and then you'll have to go watch it. So
yeah, he's diving deep into each episode, each character, all kinds of stuff, and you can learn amazing behind the scenes stuff. It's just really in depth and it's great. So.
And Keith had told me that Gary's getting his own show also. Now I don't have the information on that, but check that out. I think it's over on Pop Culture Minefield, so check out that show also.
Yep. And then we have my two favorite nerd informants, Tim and Josh, for Nerd Informants. Now they have Nerd Informants Beyond, which is what.
Yep, oops, hit the wrong one, didn't I? Yeah.
That's okay.
Hit the wrong one. Yeah.
There it is. That's
the one. That's the right one.
Nerd Informants over on YouTube and Facebook. And like Larry posted that other banner, they have a page. If you guys love nerdy, geeky stuff and want to talk, start a conversation, even just share something that you like, that you saw, or if you create a fun meme or something, they have a page called Nerd Informants Beyond, and you can post all of your stuff. You do what we do and you have videos, they encourage you to post it on there as well. So it's just a great way for the nerd community to come together. Then we have Shpoo over at Skallywag Productions. Now he's our partner in all of our video stuff. He has not been doing videos lately because of health problems.
So the last video that I posted was, it left things kind of hanging on a bit of an ominous note where I was about to have heart surgery. There has been a lot that has happened since then, and we're still in the midst of everything. So there will be, I will have it out at some point this week. I'm just not sure what day, but there will be a new update video coming within the next few days. And I think since things have slowed down to as much of a crawl as they have, that I will, in the very, very, very near future, I don't want to commit to saying a certain time frame, but we'll be slowly starting to put some new videos. And hopefully me and this guy right here, we can start maybe doing some stuff as well.
That would be awesome.
I am always down for doing stuff.
Right?
I like stuff.
Let me quote you on that. All right.
We'll just call it Skallywag Stuff.
The stuff.
The
sequel to the show.
We did the trailer for the stuff. We
That's
did the trailer riffs.
That was so over at the Skallywag Productions on YouTube,
that was a good one too.
you can find all the episodes of the show. Shpoo also did Mindless Dribble. He did all kinds of fun things. We did a show together called A Series of Enigmatic Events. Aren't you proud of me?
You said it right.
That was so hard to learn to say. I'm just saying.
Frivolous facts, the best it never was, all sorts of stuff.
All kinds of things. So go check him out and just, watch the older videos so you know what it's all about. That's good too. And then there's us. Yay!
There's us.
Now we have our own website called GeekyKOOL.com. You can also find us on Twitter and Facebook. And we have all kinds of contributors, from people who do some animated videos for us to reviews, authors who do stuff. And we have the best contributors out there right now, I think, because they got all kinds of really cool things for you, all kinds of geeky stuff. What do you call it, Shpoo?
So head on over to www.GeekyKOOL.com. It's your one-stop shop for all things nerd.
There you go. But be sure to find us on Facebook, give us a like on YouTube, give us hit that subscribe button, but also check out our website because we have all kinds of cool content there as well. So
we do. We've got all sorts of stuff coming up soon on the website. And hopefully, we're talking about making a revamp and redesign of some stuff on the website to make it a little easier. We've got Ray, who once she's available, will start doing some stuff with our social media, and so we've got good things coming, guys. So we're excited.
We're so excited, and our ending is really long, I know, but guess what? We just can't turn our friends down and not share the love when we know people are amazing at what they do.
Well, in Southwest Missouri, we have a great group of nerds, geeks that are doing awesome stuff. It's pretty amazing when you look at the quality of stuff that's coming out of Springfield, Branson, the immediate area around West Plains, all that. It's really cool to see, and it's great to see how people support each other with it. So that's one of the wonderful things. It's not like it's a competition. We're trying to outdo other people. We may want to outdo the nerd performance, but that's beside the point.
I'm telling you right now, we've got a ways to go. But
I know.
I just keep saying I want to collaborate with them.
Yeah.
Us up, some GeekyKOOL up, and Professor and I up really well, and I mean, Keith did, and it made me feel really good because Keith was like, "You guys do what you do better than anyone." Which
we're Wolverine.
Which was just like shocking when he said that, but we just do it differently, and we don't really care about like getting famous and stuff. We just love what we do. So
exactly, we do it because we would have these conversations anyway, and
we would.
Then we can just share with the world. So there we go.
Well, thank you, Shpoo. Thank you, Dee, for joining us, and as always,
for having
back. We love
that. We do. Come on, talk anything, and we can do some more cryptids anytime
Lord
soon.
knows when it comes to cryptids, even when it comes to UFOs and Bigfoot, we didn't even begin to scratch the surface.
No, not even close.
So we didn't even I couldn't even see the surface, let alone reach out to scratch it.
Yeah.
But so yeah, anytime.
All right. Well, that does it for tonight's episode. Thank you all for watching. We appreciate that. For anybody that's watched us live and anybody that watches it later, we always appreciate that. Please do share it with your friends and stay geeky. Bye. See you guys.